The sun had barely begun to dip behind the city skyline as I sat on the couch, absent-mindedly scrolling through my phone. Another workday done, another evening stretching out before me, just like every other one. At least, that was how I thought it would be. I had no idea that in a few short hours everything would change. Samantha's voice broke through my thoughts. "I'll be leaving early tomorrow morning for my business trip," she said casually, her back to me as she packed her suitcase on the bed. "Vegas. You know how it is, lots of meetings, lots of clients to impress." She said it like it was a normal business trip. But I knew better. I'd heard her talk about Vegas before, about the conferences and networking opportunities, at the grand hotels, but something always nagged at me. There was something off about her tone when she mentioned the city. A slight edge of excitement that she usually reserved for, well, other things. I looked up from my phone, eyes narrowing. "Are you sure about this? Vegas seems a little intense for a business trip, doesn't it?" She paused for a moment, zipper halfway down on her suitcase, and turned toward me. The expression on her face was hard to read, almost like she was deciding whether or not to say something. After a beat, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "It's just business, honey. Don't overthink it." I wanted to press her, to ask more, to dig deeper. But I had learned the hard way that Samantha had perfected the art of deflection. If she didn't want me to know something, it was as if the walls around her became impenetrable. Over the years, I had stopped asking too many questions, stopped pushing for answers. And I hated myself for it. I had let her slip away, let the little cracks in our relationship grow until we were living separate lives under the same roof. I stood up from the couch, walking toward her. "Well, if you're going, be careful. You know Vegas isn't exactly a place to let your guard down." She looked up at me, her lips curling into a soft smile. "I'll be fine. I'm not a child, remember?" I had to admit, she had always been fiercely independent. It was one of the things I had loved most about her when we first met. But somewhere along the way, that independence had morphed into something else, a distance I couldn't reach, no matter how hard I tried. I watched her zip up her suitcase, the soft click of the zipper ringing louder than the words we hadn't said. I wanted to tell her that I loved her, that I still cared deeply, but there was a lump in my throat. It was hard to say those things when I wasn't even sure if she felt the same way anymore. She gave me a quick kiss on the cheek before picking up her bag. "I'll be home in a few days. I'll call you when I land." "Yeah, sure. Safe travels," I muttered, watching her walk out the door. I don't know why I had that sinking feeling as she left. But it was there, gnawing at the back of my mind, telling me that things weren't as simple as they seemed. But I buried that feeling. I had to. The last thing I wanted was to be that husband, the paranoid, controlling type. It was only the next morning, as I poured my coffee, that I saw something that made my stomach turn. On the kitchen counter, next to the phone, was a small note in Samantha's handwriting. At first glance, it seemed harmless, just a quick reminder about the trip, but when I looked closer, something caught my eye. A small detail written in a different ink. "Jason, pick me up at the airport, 9 p.m. Can't wait to see you." My hand trembled as I held the note, staring at the words. Jason. The name was familiar, but not in the way it should have been. It wasn't a name I'd ever heard her mention in the context of work, and certainly not a name that had any business being on a note about her business trip. My heart began to race as I pieced it together. Jason, her boss. The younger, ambitious, and charming guy who had joined the company just a year ago. The one who seemed to have been gaining her attention in a way I couldn't ignore. They'd spent late nights at the office together, and I had noticed the way she spoke about him. Too much enthusiasm in her voice, too much emphasis on his potential. I swallowed hard. What the hell was going on? For a long moment I stood there, my mind reeling. She had been so casual about the trip, so confident that nothing was amiss. But now this note. It was like a light had been switched on in a dark room, and I suddenly saw everything in sharp focus. I wasn't blind. I could see the signs. Was she really just going to Vegas for work? Or was there something more? Was this trip about business, or was it about something else entirely? Something unspoken? I shoved the note into my pocket, feeling a deep, gnawing suspicion worm its way into my gut. Something didn't add up. I tried to shake it off, tell myself I was overreacting, but deep down, I knew I wasn't imagining this. There was something going on, something I wasn't being told. The thought of it drove me to action. I had to know the truth. I couldn't just sit here and wonder. I had to follow her, to see for myself. I barely slept that night. Thoughts of what I'd read on the note gnawed at me, and the uncertainty only grew as the hours dragged on. Samantha was gone, already halfway to Vegas, and I had no idea what was happening, what she was really doing. I kept replaying the note in my mind, her casual tone, the way she wrote Jason's name as if it was nothing more than a colleague. But that wasn't the feeling I had gotten when I saw it. The morning after she left, I found myself sitting at the kitchen table, staring out the window with the same unease bubbling in my stomach. I wasn't one for snooping, at least I never thought I was, but today everything felt different. Everything felt off. I picked up my phone, heart racing as I scrolled through her social media. It felt wrong, but there was something urging me to do it. I told myself it was to ease my mind, to prove I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew I wasn't. I had never been so sure of anything in my life. And there it was. A photo. Samantha and Jason laughing together at a conference in LA a few months ago. She was smiling so brightly, her eyes lighting up in a way I hadn't seen in years. I hadn't thought much about it at the time. But now, looking at it with fresh eyes, I saw it. The connection. The intimacy in their shared moment. Something that went beyond mere professionalism. I scrolled through more of her recent posts, work-related stuff, but then, a story posted just this morning. A quick clip of a hotel room. A sleek, modern space. The bed, untouched, as Samantha's voice hummed through the video saying, "Vegas, let's do this." There was no mention of work. No talk of meetings or clients. Just her, in the hotel room, alone. I didn't need to see more. I was already piecing it together. I could feel the bile rising in my throat. It was as if the mask had been pulled back. All the little lies, all the subtle cues, they were there. In my face. And I had missed them all along. I couldn't sit idly by anymore. I had to act. I had to confront her. But how? I wasn't some overbearing, jealous husband, and that wasn't the man I wanted to be. But this wasn't just a suspicion. No, it was something darker, something far more dangerous. The feeling of betrayal wasn't something I could ignore. I grabbed my keys and headed to the door, making a snap decision. If she wasn't going to tell me the truth, I would go to Vegas myself. I wasn't going to sit at home wondering if she was out there, hiding something from me. If I had to follow her, if I had to expose the truth with my own eyes, I would do it. The flight felt like an eternity, each passing minute dragging me closer to the truth I didn't want to face. The nagging sensation in the back of my mind only grew stronger as the plane descended into the glitzy world of the Strip. The bright neon lights outside the window almost seemed to mock me, as if the city itself knew what I was about to find. I didn't have a plan, not really. I wasn't sure what I expected to do once I arrived. Confront her? Confront him? The more I thought about it, the less I knew. But I couldn't turn back now. I had made my decision, and it was too late to go back. I found my way to the hotel she was staying at. It wasn't hard to figure out. She'd mentioned it in passing a few times during our calls leading up to the trip. The lavish lobby was exactly what I expected. Over the top, filled with tourists and business professionals alike, all of them looking like they were living their best lives. It all felt so shallow. My heart raced as I approached the reception desk. "I'm here to meet my wife," I said to the clerk, trying to remain composed, as if everything was normal. The woman at the desk smiled politely. "I'll need the room number, sir." Was she checking in alone? It was a simple question. But the moment she asked it, I felt my chest tighten. I almost wanted to tell her the truth right then. I wanted to shout, "No, she's not alone. She's with him, her boss. She's with Jason." Instead, I gave her a name. Samantha Taylor. Room 207. The clerk checked the computer and nodded. "She's here, sir. But she's in a meeting right now." I nodded curtly and walked away, trying to quell the wave of panic creeping up my spine. I could feel the heat in my face. Was she really in a meeting? Or was she with him right now, in that room, doing God knows what? I took the elevator to the second floor, each floor ringing with the sound of distant voices and laughter. My mind was in a blur, my thoughts racing ahead of me. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't even remember why I was doing this, why I had flown here in the first place. But I couldn't stop. The hallway was dimly lit, the carpet plush beneath my feet as I walked toward room 207. I stood outside the door, staring at the number. My hand hovered near the doorknob, but I hesitated. The last thing I wanted to do was cause a scene, to lose control. But I was losing control already. She had taken something from me, something I wasn't sure I could ever get back. The door clicked open, and a flood of emotions hit me. The room was empty. But as I stepped in, I noticed something that stopped me cold: a half-empty glass of wine on the desk, a jacket draped over a chair, and a phone, face up, lying on the bed. It was her phone. I walked toward it instinctively, as if drawn by some unseen force. My fingers trembled as I picked it up, my breath catching in my throat. The screen was locked, but the message preview was visible. It was from Jason. "I can't wait to see you later. I'm counting down the minutes." I felt the blood drain from my face. She was here. She had been here. And Jason was on his way. The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. There was no going back now. I stood there for a long moment, frozen in place, the weight of the realization sinking in. Her phone, the messages, the empty glass of wine, it was all right in front of me. There was no denying what I had stumbled upon. Samantha, my wife of 23 years, had been hiding something from me. And now I was face to face with the undeniable evidence. I felt sick to my stomach, my head spinning. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, to scream, to demand answers. But instead, I just stood there, a numbness creeping over me as I processed what I was seeing. For a few minutes I thought about just leaving. Walking away. Pretending like I hadn't seen anything. But I couldn't. Not anymore. I had come this far, and I needed to know everything. If she wasn't going to tell me the truth, then I would have to drag it out of her. I tossed her phone onto the bed, pacing back and forth in the room. My mind raced, questions flying at me from all directions. What did they do? Was this just some fling, or was it something more? Was she planning to leave me? Had she already made up her mind? The anger was starting to bubble to the surface now, and I knew I couldn't wait any longer. I had to find her. I had to see her face to face and confront her, no matter what it took. I needed the truth, all of it. I left the room and made my way downstairs, heart pounding in my chest. The lobby was bustling, full of tourists and business people going about their day, unaware of the storm that was brewing just a few floors above them. I scanned the crowd for any sign of her. I knew I had to act fast. If she was meeting Jason soon, then I needed to get to her before it was too late. As I walked out onto the busy street, the neon lights of the Vegas Strip blinked brightly, drowning out the thoughts in my head. For a moment I lost myself in the chaos, the noise, the flashing billboards. It felt like a dream. A nightmare. How had I ended up here? And then I saw her. She was standing outside a cafe, talking to someone. A man. Jason. He was standing close to her, leaning in, laughing at something she had said. They looked so natural together. Too natural. The way he touched her arm, the way she smiled, something in me snapped. I stood there, frozen, watching them from across the street. My chest tightened, my breath coming in shallow gasps. This was it. This was the moment I had been dreading, the moment everything I had known would shatter. I wanted to walk over there, to tear into them both, to scream and demand answers. But something stopped me. The anger, yes, but also the fear. Fear of the truth. Fear of what it would mean for everything I had believed in. For our marriage. For the life we had built together. I took a step back, retreating into the shadows of the street. My eyes never left them. I watched as they exchanged a few more words, and then, without warning, they walked toward the hotel, side by side, laughing like old friends. My stomach twisted. The pit in my gut deepened. It was happening. Right before my eyes. She wasn't just having an affair. She was in love with him. I could see it now, clear as day. There was something between them. Something that had been growing, something that had been festering beneath the surface for who knows how long. I waited. I don't know how long. Minutes? Hours? Time seemed to stretch and warp as I watched them. My fingers clenched into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. I could feel the rage building, the desire to confront them, to make them both feel the pain I was feeling. But I didn't. I couldn't. Not yet. I turned and walked away, my mind a whirlwind of confusion and anger. I had to think. I had to plan. I wasn't going to let this end like this. I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I ended up back in the hotel room, sitting in the same spot where I had been earlier, staring at the phone, the messages, the glass of wine. Everything felt suffocating. The walls seemed to close in on me, and I could hardly breathe. My heart was racing, but I wasn't sure if it was from anger or fear. Maybe both. I stared at the phone again, my hands shaking as I picked it up. I had to know more. What was going on? Was this affair just about sex? Or was it something deeper? Something more than I could ever have imagined? The phone unlocked with a simple swipe, and I scrolled through her messages. Jason's name kept appearing over and over, each message more intimate than the last. Flirty texts, late-night calls. But then I saw something that made my blood run cold. A message from just 2 days ago. I can't wait to be with you this weekend. I want to show you how much I care. I felt like the ground had just been ripped out from under me. Care? She didn't use that word with me anymore. She hadn't in years. This wasn't just a casual affair. This was something real. Something she had been hiding from me, lying to me about for who knows how long. I closed my eyes, my mind spinning. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to see her, confront her face to face. The reality was too much. The betrayal was too raw. I couldn't let it slide, not after everything we had shared. I grabbed my jacket and headed out again, this time with purpose. I had to find her. I had to get answers. I arrived at the hotel bar, my heart racing as I scanned the room for her. I knew she'd be here soon. Jason had to be with her. She was going to meet him, and I was going to be there, ready to confront them both. And then, as if on cue, I saw her. Samantha walked in, Jason by her side, both of them laughing, looking every bit the happy couple. It was as if the world around them didn't exist. They didn't even see me. I stood frozen for a moment, my hands balled into fists at my side. This was it. The moment I had been dreading. I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and walked toward them. I moved toward them slowly, my heart hammering in my chest. Every step felt like it weighed a ton. My body screamed at me to stop, to walk away, but I couldn't. Not anymore. The truth was right in front of me, and I wasn't going to back down. As I approached, Samantha and Jason were deep in conversation, oblivious to my presence. Samantha's laughter echoed across the bar, a sound I hadn't heard in months. It stung. I wanted to tear it from her, to rip away the joy that she had with him. But I held my composure, steeling myself for what was about to come. I took another step closer, and Jason noticed me first. His eyes widened as he realized who I was, and for a split second, I saw a flicker of guilt in his expression. But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a cold indifference. Samantha turned her head, her face lighting up when she saw me, but the smile faltered when she noticed the look in my eyes. I could see the change in her expression, the fear, the uncertainty. She knew. She knew I had found out. David, she said, her voice a little too high-pitched, a little too forced. She stood up and tried to walk toward me, but I held up a hand to stop her. No, Samantha. Don't. Just don't. My voice was steady, but there was a tremor in my chest. I was furious, betrayed. But I had no intention of letting her see me break. I turned to Jason, locking eyes with him. So this is how it is, huh? I said, my words dripping with disdain. You two couldn't even be bothered to keep it hidden. Right under my nose. How long has this been going on? Jason cleared his throat, his face turning slightly red. Look, man, I didn't. No, I cut him off. Don't talk. I'm not interested in your excuses. You've already made your choice. But I'm not going to let you stand there and pretend like I don't know exactly what's been happening. Samantha opened her mouth to speak, but I turned to her. No. You don't get to explain yourself. Not anymore. I couldn't even look at her without feeling the weight of the lie she had been living. The years of marriage. The children. All of it shattered in an instant. Her eyes welled with tears, and she reached out to me. David, please. I never meant for it to happen this way. I let out a bitter laugh, shaking my head. Oh, really? You never meant for it to happen this way? You thought you could lie to me, sneak around, and I wouldn't notice? After everything we've been through, this is how you repay me. Jason stepped forward, his voice low. David, we didn't want it to hurt you. It just happened. I felt the anger bubbling up again, hotter this time, burning through every inch of my skin. Happened? I repeated, my voice rising. You're telling me that this just happened? You think I'm that stupid? Samantha's tears were now flowing freely, and she took a step back, looking between me and Jason, as if she were caught in some kind of moral tug-of-war. David, please, let me explain. It wasn't just about sex. It's about us. About what we've been missing. About what I've been missing. I couldn't hold back any longer. Missing? What do you mean missing? You had a life, Samantha. You had me. You had everything. My chest tightened and I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice level. But clearly, that wasn't enough for you. I could feel the room closing in on me. My body was on fire with rage, but underneath that anger, there was a pain so deep I couldn't even begin to comprehend it. How had I been so blind? How had I let her get away with it for so long? Jason stepped in again, this time more forcefully. David, I didn't come here to start a fight. We're not trying to hurt you. But, not trying to hurt me? I barked. You think this isn't hurting me? My hands clenched into fists, my nails biting into my palms. You've both been lying to me. Sneaking behind my back, playing me for a fool. And you expect me to just sit here and understand. Samantha's eyes were wide with shock, but Jason wasn't backing down either. He was clearly trying to maintain some sense of control over the situation, but it was slipping fast. You think you can just come in here, ruin my life, and then walk away like nothing happened? I said, my voice shaking with fury. Well, guess what, Jason? It doesn't work that way. Not with me. Samantha took a step toward me, her voice barely above a whisper. David, please. We didn't mean for this to hurt you. I love you. I do. But I was lost. I needed something more. I stared at her for a long time, my eyes boring into hers. More? You think this is about more? What about our family, Sam? What about everything we built together? What about me? She shook her head, her voice cracking. I didn't mean to hurt you. I never wanted to hurt you. But I've been so unhappy. I've felt so empty for so long, and Jason, he made me feel alive again. He made me feel seen. The pain in her voice was raw, and for a split second, I felt a pang of sympathy. But then I remembered what she had done. The lies. The betrayal. And that sympathy turned to bitterness. I'm sorry, I said, my voice flat. But I can't fix this. Not anymore. Jason stepped back, looking at me with something that might have been guilt, but it was quickly replaced by frustration. So that's it? You're just going to walk away. I shook my head. No. I'm not walking away. I'm taking control back. This is the last time you both use me as your pawn. I'm done. I turned and walked away, leaving them standing there. The air in the bar felt thick, suffocating. My chest still burned with rage, but now there was a sense of finality. It was over. I had confronted them, I had gotten the truth. And now I was done. I didn't know what came next. I didn't know how I was going to rebuild from this. But I knew one thing for sure, I wasn't going to let them destroy me. I stepped out into the cool Vegas night, the bright lights of the Strip flashing around me, a stark contrast to the darkness in my heart. I had no idea where I was going or what I was doing, but I had taken the first step toward healing. And that, for now, was enough.